Welcome back to the Triple Option. I'm Paul Catalina alongside Garrett Ross, and it is week one. And I think I have to here's what's great about this.
Mm-hmm.
From February on this show, I have to come up with different topics to quite honestly bullshit our way through this on speculation.
Yes.
And I'm pulling back the curtain here for all the podcasts you watch. Is if you're covering a certain subject, there is actual time, season time, and bullshit time.
Correct.
We are now done with bullshit time.
Yep.
And we are in season time, and we will enjoy it until we go back to bullshit time. Now, bullshit time has, and I've said this word a lot today, but it has a couple of good months.
It does.
But then after a while,
it wears on you.
It's like ordering a Caesar salad every single day for lunch. We're like, all right, I like a good chicken Caesar salad, but can I get a club sandwich?
Yes.
Can I get something else?
Shake it up a little.
Let's shake it up a little bit. Maybe I get soup in a bread bowl. I don't know. Let's go crazy. But that's what it feels like after a while. I just feel like I'm, going, the usual, Ted.
Yep.
And then he's like, absolutely, extra croutons. You know me so well, Ted. My life is not an endless loop, I promise. So this is the great time. Garrett, I told you as we left the last segment.
We did.
That I was going to give you the opportunity. We're going to talk about Dabo Swinney first, which I have many thoughts. And I have a statistic that, again, continues to work in my favor on this argument, or all of our favors, because there's only a few more holdouts on his side right now.
Okay.
And that's kind of like the guys who were like hanging out like, no, Stalin's still cool. I don't mean to compare him to Stalin. He's not Stalin, but you get that you're so loyal to, you're like, no, he'll figure it out without compromising what he's doing. Like he'll see it through the other side once this fad passes. The transfer portal is the slap bracelet of the college football world. Or do you want to talk about your Tigers? So which Tiger game are we going to talk about first?
Let's do Dabo. Just you were rolling with Dabo. Let's go Dabo first.
Okay, we'll do Dabo first. So in the spring, during bullshit time, I did a video about Dabo Swinney, the transfer portal, where I feel I posed several very valid questions about why he won't use it. I understand not thinking it's a cure-all because it's not a cure-all.
No.
We're not asking for him to don't
be a Dion.
Don't do Dion, but the team he just lost to, a team that he would have never lost to by 31 points in previous years, under the previous systems of acquiring talent. The team he just lost to beat him by 31 points. They used to be on par with Georgia.
Without they were starting running back.
Without I think that's splitting hairs because the other guy's really good too. But without the playmaker, like the true playmaker of the two, Frazier's more of the grinder, and ATN is
take the top off.
Is the oh crap. Yeah. And I don't think he was missed more in Gainesville than maybe Tim Tebow the other day because they really needed somebody that explosive, which they did not have.
Nope.
And Montreal Johnson had one really good run, and he's a good running back, but he's not ATN.
Nope.
ATN can just do things. So they did that without him. And if he had played, this would have and scored. This would only fit the statistic that I'm about to tell you. So there were 4 touchdowns scored in the game. London Humphreys scored 1.
Okay.
He is a transfer from Vanderbilt. Cash Jones scored 1. He is a transfer from Vanderbilt. Colby Young scored 1. He is a transfer from Miami. Now, Frazier scored the other one, but it was a 2-yard run after a dirty move on a huge gain by Dominic Lovett, who is, you guessed it, a transfer from Missouri. So if he's wondering where the gap is between Clemson and Georgia, because there's a talent gap.
Oh, significant.
It's that when it was 6-0 at halftime and Georgia had to figure out who are the guys that we know can make plays, they went to veteran players to make plays. London Humphreys was really good last year at Vanderbilt. Cash Jones, I mean, yes, but like that was just more of a I mean, it was, but it still fits my narrative, so I'm going to keep it. Colby Young, same thing at Miami, didn't really fit in there, scored a touchdown. Dominic Lovett left a Mizzou team that was kind of transitional and went to Georgia, and there he is. They went to the guys who were there. Now, Clemson, in the same scenario, just had to look at the guys who hadn't had some of that experience and go, well, it's time to grow up right now, and they had no answer for it. Their offensive, I don't think their scheme is really the problem on offense with Garrett Riley. I think they have not given Garrett Riley
the playmakers.
I mean, you look at what he did, is anybody compare, let's just compare that offense to TCU in 2022.
Correct.
Okay. And I thought maybe this would be the case, and it still might be for Cade Klubnik, but from what I've seen, no.
Starting to get,
Who would you rather have, Max Duggan or Cade Klubnik?
At the moment, Duggan.
I'd take Max, but Max Duggan that last year grew up.
Yeah. Because he made a massive jump.
Yeah. Okay. Who on that team is Quentin Johnston?
Nobody.
Who on that team is Darius Davis?
Nobody.
Who on that team is Amani Bailey?
Nobody.
Who on that team is Kendry Miller?
They have no playmakers.
Okay. So Phil Moff is a really good running back, but the best playmaker, the guy who's the game changer, plays for the Eagles now, and Will Shipley. They're tight end. Do they have Jarrett Wiley? No, they don't have any of that compared to what Garrett Riley, who was the offensive coordinator in both spots, had. So, I mean, you can't really blame Garrett Riley, especially considering that a couple of those guys I mentioned were transfers. And TCU had some guys too that were like the fourth or fifth options that were just really good.
Yep.
I mean, everybody talks about Quentin Johnston all the time in that team, but Darius Davis was their other, oh crap, there's that guy, and Clemson still has some of those guys on defense.
Their defense played pretty good the first half.
But eventually
they got wore out.
But eventually you're just going to snap because your offense can't do anything for you. So their defense is still there. And if they want to win games like Iowa, more power to them, but you're also not going to be facing Minnesota offenses week in and week out. They're playing App State this week. App State might have skilled players on par with them.
They probably will.
This is he is, I think Dabo, and when you hear him talk, he thinks the second half was the anomaly and not the first half. What I'm telling you is the first half was the anomaly. That was you played well on emotion. Your defense, was matching them player for player, and you were doing some things and confusing them. But when Georgia started to take more chances, they were better equipped to, and you couldn't. You had to kind of still keep it within the, what you're confident what you can do. Georgia can take risks. They can go out there and go, okay, you go be the athlete we signed you to be. Clemson doesn't have that right now. And they used to have it in just
across
over
the board,
and over and over. I mean, just name the players. They had them. And I mean, the calls for Dabo to use the transfer portal are only going to get louder. And it doesn't matter what we say outside, but inside, when you have you're telling me that when Travis Etienne went in the portal, that you could not have called him, considering his brother played for you and gotten him there.
Could have.
But since he told you no before, he's off the table. So he's going to go to Georgia, and Georgia took 11 or 12 transfers.
But that's what Clemson should do. If Clemson took 5 to 10 legit transfers.
Well, because you're going to have 5 or 10 guys who kind of fall off your roster.
That's all you need for a program like that.
Yeah. So you're going to that's what kind of weirds me out is that here's where you're talking about taking transfers and where you can go get like the good ones that are in the portal. Clemson can go get because you're Clemson. So why not do it? It's not about taking 20 players, but every year you're going to have 5 to 10 players that fall off your roster because of injuries, because they want to go to a different place or grades or whatever reason. And when you lose those guys, that gives you a chance to upgrade where maybe you wouldn't, like, even in your philosophy, like, these are guys that committed us, we're going to keep with them. If they're going to keep with us, that's great, Dabo. I actually really admire that of like, let's put into the effort to these guys if they're willing to put the effort back. But if they're just done or gone, you know, or if you're Andrew Makuba and want to go play at home in Austin, you know, yeah, I mean, like, okay, well, now you've lost that. Like, you want to make sure that you replace, you know, one of the 2 best safeties in the country, a stud with a stud, and not do that. So why not get 10 transfers that are veterans that aren't necessarily all-stars or all-Americans, but they can help you. That's where it doesn't make sense to me. And
even if they could have got like a Kobe Bryant, like when he hit the portal, instead of letting him go to Oregon, you to get him out there, like that could have helped you significantly. But I don't understand it at this point, because you're in a position where you built this up from, you spent what, like 16 years they gave you before you won your first championship. Yeah. And then your just stubbornness is letting you, all that work you put in, it's crumbling because you're arrogant. Like, that makes no sense to me why you would want to do what. So at this point, is it just the playmakers aren't there for Cade Klubnik, or is he just not developing? Because I'm starting to get some real Garrett Gilbert vibes from that. I think
it's a little bit of both. And look, Cade Klubnik may not be in the right program for him. Garrett Gilbert got better when he went to SMU, right? He was in the right program for himself. So sometimes it's that easy that they're just not in the right program for themselves. And all right, be that as it may. But I mean, they really, like, the thing that shook me to my core watching that game about this was it wasn't just about the transfer portal. It's also about the high school talent, because the gap between Georgia and Clemson talent-wise is prodigious.
Well, why at this point?
And not even like, I'm not even talking about those guys that I mentioned, like London Humphreys and all that. I'm talking about just the linemen on both sides of the ball, the players that Kirby Smart's recruited. He is beating Dabo at every turn in that regard. And if Clemson wants to get back into the playoff and win national championships again, they better start copying what Kirby Smart does, or doing it more like Kirby Smart does and less like Gene Stallings did.
Well, but here at this point, though, you're getting to the point where when you start recruiting high school players, why do I want to come play at Clemson anymore? If you're not going to use the rules there to help us as a team get better, why should I show any interest in wanting to come be a part of your program? Because right now there's no hope of winning a championship there anymore, unless you adapt. So unless I just love Dabo for some random reason, if I'm a high caliber player, they wouldn't even be on my radar anymore. Personally,
I mean, why would I not go?
What's the point?
Yeah, why would I not go somewhere? Here's the other thing: it does not look fun to play at Clemson.
No,
right now.
Hell no.
It does not look fun. You know where it looks fun to play? Miami. Okay, it looks fun to play at Miami this week. Now, I'm reserving my judgment. It doesn't look fun to play at Florida. It doesn't look fun to play at Clemson.
Nope.
It does not look fun. It looked fun. Look, I know Brian Kelly is not exactly,
nice
Krusty the Clown when it comes to putting on a show, but it still looks fun to play there. It looks fun to play at USC. It looks fun as hell to play at Oregon. It looks fun as hell to play at Bama and Georgia and FSU and Tennessee. God, it looks fun as hell to play at Tennessee. My God. Ole Miss. Like, look how fun that is. Mississippi State ain't bland with Jeff Lebby. That offense was fun to watch the other day. You know, even though it was tense as shit the other day, it looks fun to play in Lubbock, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
You know, like, it looks fun. It does not, like, it looks like going to the library at Clemson in Florida right now. And Florida's way further down that pole than Clemson is. But if Dabo Swinney does not look down the road and say, hey, there by the grace of God go I, and pride cometh before the fall. So I better swallow this pride and start changing up my things and stop like living on a moral hill that you are alone on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you and the military academies. And
that's
don't you think the military academies would take a couple of guys if they were allowed to? If there weren't too many problems with that? Like, yeah, I'm sure they would. Like, you're telling me that if you could get, say, I'll just throw out a guy at Florida who they got, who I really like, is their defensive tackle, Joey Slackman. Huge dude. They got, I can't remember if he's the Ivy League guy or not. I think he's the Ivy League guy. But you're telling me that, like, we couldn't make him into a soldier? put him on the Army Black Knights and let him just wreak havoc? Let's go. But no, they can't. So the other three that don't take transfers are not allowed to because foreign governments could influence that.
Yes.
So we can't have that because of spies. Literal spies are the reason you can't transfer in. And to get a transfer from, say, USF, I just have to call the kid when he puts his name in. To get a transfer to go to Air Force, I have to call a goddamn senator. So what are we talking about?
It's a little different.
What are we talking about here, Dabo?
Different.
You are like, and listen, I'm not dogging Clemson as a school, but it ain't West Point.
No.
Okay? I mean, I don't know. Well, my rant is over on that. Now, Garrett, Brian Kelly slammed his fist on the table. He admitted that he's not doing a good enough job.
No, he's not doing a good enough job. He's not at all. Like, this is what I was worried about this whole time with him. It's the defense. This is exactly what I was expecting. Look, Garrett Nussmeier is a good quarterback, but he is not mobile, and that was going to be an issue with the offense if you weren't going to have those explosive plays that you had with Jaden Daniels. The hope was that you could finally get the rushing attack going to alleviate that. I thought Caleb Jackson should have a breakout game. He didn't do nothing. The only hope of showing a spark in the rushing attack came with John Emery coming in the third quarter, and he had like one good run in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
The defensive line did better. I think the defensive line and the linebackers, especially the linebackers, with Whit Weeks back there, he is going to be a sleeper coming in, and he's really funny person to listen to, talk to, a little country kid. But him and watching Harold Perkins finally get cut loose on blitzes on third down was refreshing. That secondary is still just trash. They're bad. The PJ Westwood, I think the freshman they threw out there, he looks like a freshman. He's going to be good. Sage Ryan and Major Burns are liabilities, like massive liabilities. You go look at that pass that set up the touchdown for USC. I don't know what Sage Ryan was looking at, because Hudson was about 5 yards behind him. Like, it was so fast. It was ridiculous to see how open he got. I think USC did a great job defensively in the second half. And I think that Lincoln Riley owes everybody in Oklahoma and USC handwritten apologies for keeping Grinch around as long as he did. Because if they would have had this defense, they could have probably had some championships along the way. I think that the way they were able to not let Kyron Lacy get loose in the second half and just let him torch them. They did a good job of going into coverage and saying, we're not going to let LSU beat us deep. We're going to force you to let Mason Taylor have these drop down passes. And he was good. He did his thing, but you had no explosive plays in the second half whatsoever. And then the ignorant penalties, the stupid personal foul penalties LSU had that gave 2 touchdowns, so undisciplined.
Now, I think the one that led to the first USC,
Kyron, the gun,
the one that
the jumping on the line,
line, that was silly.
I don't understand that call. I get it. I get where they're coming from,
look, LSU did it 5 more times.
I know.
And USC jumped offside or had false starts on 2 more of them, and they didn't call that same thing again, and nothing was different.
Yes.
So to me, that's an admission of we've
seen that with the Big 12 refs. Though. They always do
messed that up
stuff
before,
like that.
So yeah.
But yeah, that one was one where I didn't agree with. The Kyron Lacy The gun thing, yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that one. But no, overall, man, these were two teams that I think both USC and LSU are improved from last year. They reminded me of the Spider-Man meme. They were almost identical. Miller Moss is a damn good quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier's a damn good quarterback. USC's playmakers made the plays. Their defense stepped up. LSU thought it was over. I think they got really complacent there on that last drive with US and let USC just march the field. They should have been more aggressive on that. That's inexcusable. That's not championship caliber play. If they look about what I thought they did, I'm still disappointed in that secondary, man, in the rushing attack.
I'm going to tell you one thing real quick. So last night, Jaquavius marks just a first down. Well, Woody marks. I'm sorry. He goes by Woody. But I was like, I like his name, Jaquavius. That's a unique name. And Amanda's like, his name's Woody. I'm like, no. His name's Jaquavius.
Yes.
But he goes by Woody, which I understand because Jaquavius is a long name. You know, like that's a name that lends itself to a nickname. And we have a long name, you know, honestly. And I would not have picked Woody out of it either. No. But I really liked him at Mississippi State. And then he's there at USC now. So I she's like, I was like, no, well, that's his. She's like, well, how did they get Woody? I'm like, I don't know. That's the story. I can't wait to hear the story about why they call him Woody. I can't wait for it. But watching that game, I got the sense of, and this has been, they've played these games on Sunday and Monday night the last 3 years.
Hate them.
And Brian Kelly is out there in front of it, and at least he's self-aware enough to know that a lot of this is on him, and that maybe
it's on him.
Like maybe they are like he's got to do something better of teaching situational awareness. And I thought this as well. Very famously, Lincoln Riley tried to get USC to back out of this game. I wondered how that would go. And there's two ways it can go. LSU could have come out and he could have gone to the athletic director after a loss and gone like, see, I told you we should have backed out. Or now he's like, well, we're going to play it. You know, we better focus out, which is clearly what they did. Danton Lynn is the hire of the offseason.
Yes, he did a great job, man.
USC did not play defense like that for a single snap. Oklahoma didn't play defense like that. No defense that Lincoln Riley has ever had has played like that for a single snap. And they did it it was Garrett Nussmeier was fantastic last night, but he earned everything that he got.
Dude, their defensive line was in his grill all night long. Mason Cobb was the way he was able to do defensively for the linebacker position, it was ridiculous. It was so impressive to watch what USC's defense did. It's just they earned it, man. Like it sucks. I'm just going to be real. I'm frustrated, but at the end of the day, like you got to give props for what they're doing. USC was the better team on that night. Like that's just is what it is.
Yeah, they were.
My God, dude, it's so annoying. I'm just looking at this like, how long is this going to play out? Because I'm thinking, man, could you get Lane Kiffin? Could you come on over? Like Dan Mullen, maybe
Dan Mullen doesn't want to recruit.
I know he doesn't want to recruit. He had some funny insight, but I even had the disgusting thought this morning of Urban Meyer, like just out of sad desperation. Longing for a championship.
You don't want to.
I don't want that.
You don't want to be there.
But God, dude, I don't know what Brian. I don't think he's the right guy, man. I just haven't liked this. You
haven't like. To be fair, this isn't like a. This isn't like a thing where you're like, oh, this is a great hire, and then at the first sign of trouble, you abandoned ship. You didn't like it from the jump. You didn't like it from the jump.
I did not. I didn't think it was the right fit. It just made no sense. It doesn't look like he grasp it. And also like financially, they can't compete here with like the big like Georgia, Texas. Like it's going to be a struggle for them to
eventually they're going to be some people, but also part of that is. You have to they have to get the alumni to invest so they can win, but then they also have to win so the alumni will invest. So it's a weird. I
don't understand though too. Like here's another thing. For so long, you could never get a quarterback, and all you could do was you were elite at running the ball and you had an elite secondary. Mm-hmm. And then now Your secondary sucks. You can't run the quarter. You can't run the ball, but you have like good quarterback. Like, can you just find the balance and spread this out a little bit and put together a championship roster? Because you're almost there, but you're just missing it. It's overlap. It's so frustrating. And I know a lot of people out there would love to have the roster LSU has and everything, but good God, when you've been spoiled with a team like 2019, it just screws everything up.
Yeah.
It screws everything up, man.
Yeah. So I think like Brian Kelly, they needed a coach like Brian Kelly because they were in organizational chaos.
Yes.
And
that happens.
He is very good at the paperwork end of these things, of the organizational flow chart, the CEO part of this.
Yes.
You know, if you have a company, for example, if I was going to hire a new CEO at Southwest Airlines and I needed someone at least in the short term who was just going to like get us back to like functionality and like be able to go through and be like, well, this is dumb that you're doing this. We've got to update this. We've got to do that. We've got to do that. Brian Kelly's the kind of
he's a good consultant
of person I would bring in to do that. But I think I would stop short of thinking that Southwest Airlines is all of a sudden going to have like fiscal growth quarter over quarter, where like I think you stop short of like LSU is going to be a very effective, good team. Are they going to be great?
No,
I don't know, because Notre Dame was always effective, good, competitive.
But when you got into the games where he had to outcoach somebody,
yeah. So that's where like the amenities come in. Like, you know, I can go to a Chili's and get a good meal every time, right? But, you know, am I going to write like a review? Like, if I'm going to tell people, like, listen, you got to get to that Chili's.
Yeah.
Like, you've been, no. But if I go to, say, like, Franklin Barbecue, look, the line's really long. It takes a long time to get your food. You sit out and wait. But when you get it, it's magical.
Right.
Like, that's the Alabama of this. But I don't know. It's just, like, those are the things he's good at. You know, are they going to be a juggernaut like they can be? I don't know if that's Brian Kelly's speed. Now, if the next guy just comes in and says, oh, I like the way this athletic department runs. This is good. I like the way the program is set up. But here's where I can, you know,
so
I can put some flavor on this.
So what you're telling me is I need Ryan Day to get beat by Michigan, get fired, and come to the boot.
Yeah,
that's what I need.
Now, I'll tell you this. If Ryan Day loses to Michigan and then loses in the first round of the playoff with this team and this $20 million, all that, there are going to be teams that may be 2 years away from thinking about firing their head coach. They're like, sorry, you know, those 2 years you had gone.
Yeah.
Gone. Like, look, I'll tell you, and that's why I think Florida would love for that to happen, because Florida doesn't have just one rival. Ohio State only has one rival. That's it. Florida has
got like 3 or 4.
They have like 4 legit rivals who are all better than them right now. FSU, who's their biggest rival, is better. Georgia, who's the second biggest rival, is better. Tennessee, who's the third biggest rival, is better. LSU, who's the fourth biggest rival, is better. So then you're looking at potentially a school that you wouldn't even piss on if it was on fire coming into the swamp and having a shot to beat you if their quarterback plays better in KJ Jefferson. Like,
That's another one. Gus, come to the boot.
Yeah.
My God.
I did like, and I think like Brian Kelly, again, he's good.
Yeah.
But LSU does not aspire to good
coach.
They aspire to great.
Great coach.
Yeah.
I'm so sad. No, it's just so frustrating. Like, how do you not have this much talent and not win a season opener since 2019? And that's another thing. Like I'm so, and we've talked about this last year, and this is kind of tying this up with the LSU game and USC and the Georgia Clemson game. That was another reason, just watching those, I'm tired of the neutral site crap. Those don't even feel like college games. You just play those home and home, because that's another thing that I did not like watching them too.
No, I'm with you. Well, you know, how I feel
I know,
about those.
but it's just like watching, especially like watching early on before it went off the air, when I would watch Clemson and Georgia and then flip back over to West Virginia and Penn State. The atmosphere, the vibe is totally different.
You know what sucks about West Virginia, that rain delay?
Yeah.
Is that had the game been, say, 13-6 when it went into rain delay and not 20-6,
you could have kept some people. Probably
you would have kept some people, but then 2 hours, they're down by 2 touchdowns. It's 2+. That was almost 3. Like, it was a long time. It was going into that third hour. Are you going to stay? No, probably not. Especially given how much traffic has shut down the city for the last couple days. I'll just go home. I'm miserable and wet anyway.
Yep.
Let's just go. Yeah, I can't imagine how many let's just go, Herb, like conversations there were at that game. You know, I'll stay at a game through thick and thin, through everything, if I bought the ticket. Like, I'm
committed.
I'm committed. Since I was a kid, my parents, one time when I was 7 years old, we all went to on Thanksgiving, went to Cowboys and Seahawks. It was my first ever Cowboys game. And it was in Texas Stadium. It was bitter cold. And the Cowboys in the fourth quarter were getting just stroked. Steve Pallure was playing instead of Danny White, and Danny was my favorite player. So it was like, they thought, like, well, maybe we'll get Paul away because Danny's hurt and all this. And I made them stay. Like, I would not leave. And my dad, proud. My mom, annoyed. I remember it to this day. I was 7 years old, and she was like, I'm so cold. And he's like, go out to the car. Go out to the car. Here, go to the car. I don't know where the car, like all these, like, it's cold. It's cold. My grandparents and my nana and granddad are cold. Granddad's like, well, I'm in it. Look, here's the thing. They're both veterans.
That's what
so,
like,
they're both veterans. Like, my granddad was in 2 wars. He was in World War II and Korea. And my dad was in Vietnam. Now, granted, Vietnam was not cold, but, like, you have, like, these 2 veterans sitting up there, and they're like, look, I can't, like, I'm not going to be able to give this guy a life lesson by saying it was really tough when we were in Korea by, like, saying, like, hey, you remember when you out-toughed us at the football game, which is not a war? Yeah, no, I think that was a point of pride. That was very much a men versus women thing. And, my mom's like, well, the Cowboys are not going to come back. I'm like, there's 12 minutes left in this game.
You don't know.
I want to see the end of the game.